Hey, welcome back. The AFC West might just be the most star-studded coaching lineup that we've ever seen. Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and now Pete Carroll.
Yeah, but while the coaches are stacked, the rosters, that's a little bit of a different story. We're seeing the Chiefs wide receiver room already held together with some athletic tape. The Raiders are going to be trusting their entire backfield to a rookie. We got the Broncos still deciding if Bo Nix is the future or if that was actually just a fluke. And then the Chargers are going to be playing fantasy whack-a-mole trying to figure out which wide receiver it is this week.
I'm Judy, he's Quinten, and this is the Fantasy Football Game Plan. Today we're breaking down the AFC West, a division that finished strong in 2024 but looks a little more unpredictable for 2025.
Yeah, we'll talk about whether Travis Kelce is an option you can rely on at 36 years old, what Rashee Rice's suspension is going to look like, and then whether or not that gap can be filled with Jalen Royals or Noah Gray. Plus, we got a bunch of rookie running backs to talk about. We got three of the key ones in this division, so it should be fun.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Let's start with the Chiefs. They finished the division first last year, 15-2. Their line is sitting at 11.5, which, I was going to say I don't see them winning 15 games again. It's really hard to win 15 games, but 11.5 might just be a little bit too low until you go through this entire division and they have to play each other twice. And this division just is brutal. All of these head coaches have such solid winning records.
Yeah, and if we remember some of their wins last year, it took blocked field goals, it took missed field goals, it took phantom flags for them to get to those 15 wins. So 11 and a half does seem fair. You know, if anything were to happen to Mahomes, then I think that number would immediately be like 3 or 4. I think that's fair.
It is fair. Let's talk through it, and then you're going to have to pick a side, which side of the 11.5 you're on. The wide receivers so far this week in training camp are having a rough week. Hollywood Brown had an ankle scare on Tuesday, but does seem to be okay. Sky Moore has a hamstring issue and he's out. And then Xavier Worthy is now in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, that is bringing up some fun highlights for guys like Tyquan Thornton, who is new to this roster, and some opportunity for the rookies to get some highlights in. But they're looking to try to ramp up their passing attack from what it was last year of kind of that dink and dunks, small, short game. But right now, the wide receivers are just not healthy enough to form that chemistry.
They're not. It's kind of surprising. It's a little bit crazy. If anyone was coaching this team besides Andy Reid, and if Patrick Mahomes wasn't the quarterback, we wouldn't even be having a conversation about an 11.5 wins. But they
But
are.
yeah, with just those two, you're going to have a shot at the Super Bowl in a year. You like your chances against anyone on a week to week basis.
Yeah. So the plays that this team runs, their personnel and what they like to have on the field, do you see it changing or is it going to stay consistent? Because for the most part, this team is relatively unchanged. We're bringing in a couple rookie wide receivers, but substitute in some names that we haven't heard of before for the wide receivers, and that's kind of what it was last year also.
Yeah, so this is the first one that I'm actually projecting some significant change, even with the same play caller. And it's really just been the beat since that loss in the Super Bowl of we have to get more explosive. We have to get back to those old Chiefs offense. And that's what they're pushing to do. So I think we're going to see more 11 personnel with three wide receivers as long as they have the personnel to actually do it. I think they were forced into 12 and 13 personnel last year because of significant wide receiver injuries, and then Noah Gray's playing a lot more snaps. So I think this team wants to go to 11 personnel.
And they brought in another tight end with Robert Tonyan from Green Bay, right? Anyhow, another tight end that might be in the mix. Let's talk about their backfield, what they didn't change, which is super concerning for me because we're looking at Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt again. And I don't know, did they just not have the money or did they spend their money somewhere else? It's baffling to me that they didn't make more changes at running back or wide receiver on this team.
Yeah, and they showed that it wasn't really a priority to them. They did end up using their 7th-round pick on Brashard Smith out of SMU, but in such a loaded running back class, and especially compared to everyone else in the division got their fun rookie running back, and this team definitely needs more explosive backfield play. I do think Brashard Smith can offer that, especially in the passing game. There's already been some highlights of him running wheel routes and catching deep bombs from Mahomes. So if he does get a shot, and this team isn't shy to using a 7th-round running back, and that's how Pacheco got his start in the first place, and if Pacheco doesn't look different than how he did at the end of the season, when he came back from that leg fracture, he just did not have the same ability. So if he is still kind of slow and kind of plodding, then I think we actually will see more Smith than the other two.
I kind of think we will see Smith as well. And you're right. Andy Reid is no stranger to putting in that 7th-rounder into his team. I believe Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th-rounder as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, maybe that is the plan, is Brashard Smith. I would like that, because I feel like they do need to be able to run the ball more than they did last year. And it was all good until Pacheco got hurt, and then it was not good.
Yeah. I think your other two options are your reliability and to make sure that they're not going to mess up, and at least they know the play call and they know the pass protection. But Brashard Smith is your actual, if you need some juice in there.
All right, so let's move on to wide receivers. We got the target share here, and I actually did not realize it was Travis Kelce last year that led in the targets. You would have thought I would have known that, but I did not. So he led last year at 24 and a half. This year you've got Rashee Rice. Is he gonna get suspended?
So he is going to get suspended. The current estimates are about 4 to 6 games for a suspension. But when we saw him on the field last year, he was that true number one option for the Chiefs. And we only saw 3 games of it. And maybe the defenses will adjust. It was very repetitive short game work, but they were going to him as a consistent option. And especially if this suspension is on the lower end, I mean, it's been years since this actual incident. And I think the NFL caring about their image isn't quite as concerned as if it happened a few months ago, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think everyone was a little bit surprised that it didn't go to court. He just took a plea deal and they moved on from this. And I have heard some reports that there may not even be a suspension. But we were having this discussion literally last July. So I hope either he gets suspended, or if he doesn't get suspended in the next few weeks, I think we can just move on from the suspension talk.
Yeah, I do think it'll probably be around 4 games is what I would guess for Rashee Rice. And I'm still projecting him to be that true number one option. But Xavier Worthy is going to have that stretch of games to show that he's developed in his second year and take over that number one role.
Okay, so can Noah Gray step up and be the tight end, or is it still Travis Kelce? I see you have Travis Kelce here, 36 years old. He's getting up there.
I think it's still Kelce. He's not dead yet. And tight ends continue to produce later into their career. And especially, I think they're just going to ask him to be that red zone threat. He actually underperformed last year in the red zone compared to other tight ends. So if we just see that kind of swing back to normal, I think he's not the same Travis Kelce he was 5 or 6 years ago. But he's still a valuable option and definitely has week winning potential if he can catch multiple touchdowns in that week.
So how do you figure out where Noah Gray goes? We know that they do love their tight end play, particularly if they are weak at wide receiver, which brings up Noah Gray. And I like Noah Gray. When will he overtake Travis Kelce?
I think, he is that insurance tight end right now. And we saw him step into a larger role last year. He's going at the very, very end of drafts. He is currently tight end 34, so you're spending the last pick. And he's fun to add on to centered draft, but not someone I think is going to take on this year. Probably next year, I think, is when we're going to see that steep decline. And if they don't have one of these wide receivers step up, then they'll probably extend Gray, and he'll be looked at as more of a go-to option.
How you feeling about rookie wide receiver, Jalen Royals? I like him, and especially to start off hot,
I'm thinking week 1 last year, and the Chiefs already had design plays to get Xavier Worthy involved, some end rounds that got him a long touchdown in week 1 last year. And Jalen Royals has a very similar skill set to Rashee Rice. He tends to win on a lot of similar routes to Rashee Rice. So during that suspension, he'll probably get a lot more use than the general public is kind of counting him for.
Okay, we're back to the question. Over under 11.5.
I think that it's just going to catch up to them this year. They had everything go their way during the regular season last year. I think it swings back in a very competitive division. We're going to talk about how much we like these other teams. So I'm going to go under. What can go wrong against betting against Mahomes and Andy Reid?
Yeah, that doesn't usually end well. It hasn't in the past. So, yeah, we can lay that down again and see if this is the year that they take a step back. And it may not be so much the Chiefs taking a step back as these other 3 teams taking a step forward and having to play in this division where they're going to beat each other up. So let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. They finished last year 11-6, so they were right at that 11.5 mark. Oddly enough, the line for them is 9.5, so Vegas has them taking a step back, which I don't see given all of their changes.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And what I thought about this team last year is that I really like the coaching changes, and I did not think they had the roster to compete. But I was thinking in the back of my head, it's like, give it a few years. Let them establish this identity, and Harbaugh is going to steer them in the right direction. So I am surprised that they dropped so low to 9.5, but still that'd be pretty impressive to get back-to-back double-digit win seasons.
It would, but I think they can do it. Although, again, we're talking about this division that's really strong. I mean, the Broncos were also 10 wins last year. It was only the Raiders that weren't. So maybe it's the other teams outside of this division that they're beating up on, and that's where they get all of their wins. Maybe like the AFC South. Anyhow, Harbaugh got his wish and got a big upgrade in running backs this year, both with Najee Harris, and we'd be talking about Najee Harris if he hadn't also brought in a star-studded rookie with Omarion Hampton.
Yeah, and that backfield will be a lot more interesting this year than it was last year. Last year we had J.K. Dobbins, who has just suffered a couple of significant injuries, and we'd watch some burst runs, and he'd get about 30 yards down the field, and then the defender would chase him down. I think these running backs are both an upgrade and have the potential to take those the distance this year. And I'm very excited for what Hampton brings, especially with Najee potentially not even being that much in the picture, especially to begin the year.
I was surprised that Hampton's going to actually play in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday night.
Yeah,
which
I think that
isn't really what you do with your great rookie running backs, but maybe we see him in for like 3 plays.
I think that's more Harbaugh saying, you're a rookie, you earn your spot, you go prove that you're this good. So I am interested. I think that's going to be fun to watch. Of him and Trey Harris are both going to line up with some exciting options. But diving into the personnel groupings for this team, it is extremely interesting, and they are very unique. If you look at all of these sets where they're running with 2 running backs, that is not going to be Najee Harris and Omarion on the field at the same time. That is going to be one of them with lead blocker Scott Malik, who they transitioned from a defensive tackle to a fullback last year. And he played almost 33% of all of their offensive snaps last year. He lined up in the backfield as a fullback. So when you're looking at those personnel groupings, most of the 21 and 22 is 2 running backs. This one's actually a fullback. So something to note there. We're going to probably see
it's misleading.
It
is what you're telling me.
It is extremely misleading. We're going to see a lot of Matlock and not a lot of both running backs on the field.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because, yeah, I don't know how that would have worked with both Najee and Hampton on the field. Interesting. Any other notes on what they like to run? Are we going to see any changes now that we do have the upgrade in the backfield?
No, I think they kind of showed us what they want to do last year. And then they went out this offseason to make it better. They went out and prioritized running backs. They went out and they just extended their left tackle. They got Becton to fill in as right guard from the Eagles last year, and he was a great run blocker. So I think this team is just telling you straight up that we're going to run through you, and we are going to be the more physical team, and we are excited to hand it off to Hampton 25 times and see if you can tackle them all every single time.
Yeah, I think that's what we were all expecting Jim to do. And we talked about it last year. We weren't quite sure he was going to do it with his backfield. He tried. And I mean, he had more success than I thought he could have with J.K. Dobbins, that's for sure. But they really got an upgrade this year. Let's talk about Justin Herbert. We saw him take a big step forward last year and have a lot of chemistry with Ladd McConkey. It's got to continue this year, right? The only other wide receiver really that's carried over is Quinten Johnston. And then we got a couple rookies.
We do have a couple rookies in there, but really have no fear for taking Ladd McConkey early in drafts. He is that true number one for this team, and he's going to get peppered with targets. We saw with this offense, even when it was stuttering in the playoffs last year, Ladd McConkey was getting his. And even if they're running the ball higher than most teams, he is going to have consistently great games. And it's really just, will any of the secondary options be able to take a step up? We saw an improvement from Quinten Johnston last year. His rookie season, he was completely labeled a bust. He had like 400 yards, and he just wasn't what people were expecting him to be. But then he did have 8 touchdowns. He had over 700 yards. If he can continue to develop, sometimes it takes until the third year for wide receivers to truly know the offense and that chemistry with the quarterback. So if he can take a step forward, I think he's going too low in draft.
I think he's going too low. I would say that maybe Herbert's going too low.
Yeah, I think he is. He's right in the group of quarterbacks that I love to take a shot with. We saw Harbaugh and Greg Roman realize, oh, this guy is amazing towards the back half of the season, and really just kind of let him have complete control over the offense. And he actually was passing a lot more than people think in that back half of the season. So if that continues and they're trusting that and one of these rookies step up, then we're probably going to see a great season from Justin Herbert.
So it does look like you at least have Trey Harris stepping into the Joshua Palmer role that was left open in his target share, keeping it about the same. And I guess Harris is the likely pick there. What do you think about the other rookie, Lambert Smith? Lambert Smith.
Lambert Smith he's made some highlight plays already in training camp, but I don't really trust him to have too much of a role this year. It's going to be, this team already doesn't play a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and I think we're going to see a majority of those 2 wide receiver sets just be McConkey and Johnston. And then Trey Harris is going to fill in for those 3 wide receivers, so he just seems like the odd man out right now.
Okay. They did expand tight ends. They kept Will Disley, but they added on Tyler Conklin from the Jets. Are we going to see more 2 tight ends?
I like Conklin. Conklin has never really been with a quarterback that prioritizes them. I think we are going to see more of those 2 tight end sets, and especially if their rookie, Oronde Gadsden out of Syracuse, can actually be relevant. This was not a guy on many people's radar coming into the draft, but if you listen to the coaches talk about this guy, they love him, and he is a willing blocker. He converted from wide receiver, so if he's actually willing to block, and that means he's going to be on the field more for Greg Roman.
Yeah. If he can block, he'll be there. That should be fine. Okay, I think are we both on the over for 9.5 here?
I think so. This seems like a 10-win team. I think Harbaugh knows how to get the most out of this roster, and this roster took a step forward than it was last year.
It did, and it was the second strongest in this division. While I think the Broncos and the Raiders have taken giant strides forward, the Chargers took the same giant step. Let's move on to the Denver Broncos, and Sean Payton is entering year 3. They have a new rookie running back as well with RJ Harvey, who is currently being drafted at running back 22nd. Last year, I know we were talking all about Sean Payton, how he loves his running backs. Is Harvey it?
Yeah, and If you listen to Sean Payton, this guy is the next Alvin Kamara. He loves talking about his old New Orleans teams and the success they had. He also prioritizes passing to the running back. He was actually going a little bit earlier in drafts last year, and then they signed J.K. Dobbins, so he's kind of fallen back, and I'm much more likely to take him about that running back 22 spot when you're just getting access to so much upside that, this is a great rookie running back. This is a running back that had 42 touchdowns in his last 2 seasons at UCF. So he knows how to find the end zone, and they prioritize him. He was a second-round pick for this team.
Yeah. We do have, Bo Nix stealing rushes from him, but I still like taking him. I think he's going about in round 5, and he's going about the same time as David Montgomery, Isaiah Pacheco, Travion Henderson. I might like Henderson a little bit more there, but Harvey's right. I like both the rookies. I don't know. Maybe it's just, the newness, and I like the mystery box.
Yeah, but especially with a very talented rookie running back class. And I think people forget how much running backs are able to immediately contribute, with typically 10% or actually just over 10% of all running back ones being rookies. So I think this is the year that we could see like 2 or 3 easy.
That's exciting. That's why I'm finding more and more running backs later in my best ball drafts that I'm having to force the wide receivers, but the running backs, those are easy to start taking. What do the Broncos like to run, and how is Harvey going to play into it?
They're one of the most creative offenses. They use such a high variety of personnel groupings. They're constantly swapping in people. And so that's really the only question mark with Harvey is how many snaps is he going to play and how many times is he going to be yanked off the field. So I think he is going to get the valuable touches. That's why I'm not really worried about his role. J.K. Dobbins is there to be a reliable option and bring balance, but RJ Harvey is going to get the fun work and get the plays drawn up for him where he's catching the ball in space with 3 lead blockers on a screen pass. He's going to get those fun plays, so I'm not really worried about his workload.
Does this mean that, with Harvey being there, that we don't get thrown the Payton curveball of Tyler Batty or of Audric Estime like we did last year?
We're still going to see some McLaughlin, some Estime. They're going to be worked in, I think, just in a less frequent amount.
Yeah, don't go drafting them. How about wide receivers? Let's look at the target shares. We've got Courtland Sutton. Obviously, he's where the ball should go. I heard he took less money to stay on this team because he believes in it. Marvin Mims, who has his moments, as did Devon Vele. I don't know that Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant are going to be too relevant in this offense, especially because they brought in tight end Evan Ingram. And we know that Sean Payton, right after his running backs, he loves his tight ends.
Yeah, Evan Ingram is going to be a target hog. I think Courtland Sutton is still the number one option, clearly, on this team. They just paid him like it was. I mean, man, I wish I could take a pay cut and still get $92 million. But I think they are showing with their wallets where the targets are going. They brought in Evan Ingram for a $23 million, two-year deal. And that also kind of lends me to question some of the younger pieces on this. If they prioritize paying Sutton and bringing in Ingram, then what do they really think about Troy Franklin and Devon Vele stepping up into their second year? Pat Bryant, I think he has a role in this offense, but he's more going to be one of the pieces that is shuffling through, not a valuable contributor.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. It's clearly with the paying of Sutton and the bringing in of Evan Ingram, they want to win now.
Yeah,
they're not.
And Sutton is undervalued right now. He's running wide receiver 26, and that is just too low for a number one option on an offense that we like.
Exciting. All right, so their line is 9.5. They won 10 games last year, so the 9.5 seems fair. Are you on the over or the under side here?
I'm taking the over for this team as well, and partly because that defense is going to be a monster too. We spent all this time talking about the offense, and that's where we're focused for fantasy football, but that defense is going to be killer.
It's hard to go all the overs in a division. They did it last year. The problem is, partially did it by beating up on the next team. I'm not. I'm having a hard time with where I'm landing on the Broncos on that 9.5. It could be 9. It could be 10. I think the line is set perfectly. I'd
Hmm.
probably go on the under just because I like the Las Vegas Raiders a little bit more, and I'm going to give them one of the extra wins in this division.
Yeah, they don't get to bully the Raiders anymore. They're finally standing up for themselves.
Yeah, the Raiders, they finished last year 4-13. Their line is 6.5. Again, just want to keep going on the over here. Maybe we're taking games away from the Chiefs and giving them to the Raiders. The coaching in this division is just crazy, crazy, crazy. They brought in Pete Carroll to take over, and now it's all of the great coaches get to go against each other. It's like the Super Bowl of coaching.
Yeah, and early on in our division recaps, we were talking about Bills, Ravens, everyone else in their division. And I think this is why, because there's a legitimate shot that all four of these teams, that they snag the 3 wild card spots. And that we could possibly see 4 AFC West teams in the playoffs. Because this division is so good, and I believe in all these coaches.
That would be interesting. I'm pretty sure we've never had that happen. So that would be a lot of fun, I think. Pete Carroll, he is reunited with Geno Smith. That
He
can't
is.
be an accident.
No, he prioritized going out and trading for him, and that's been the biggest question mark on this Raiders team for since Derek Carr is they have just not had good quarterback play. So Geno Smith is at least a very accurate passer, and especially with kind of that revitalizing their skill position with Brock Bowers and now Ashton Genty, it should be a lot of fun.
It should be, yeah. They brought in rookie running back Ashton Genty with the 6th overall pick. They followed that up with 2 rookie wide receivers with Jack Beck. Is it Beck? Besh. With Jack Besh and then Dante Thornton Jr. in the 4th round. What do they like to run, or is it kind of irrelevant what they like to run, or what does Pete Carroll like to run?
So they did bring in Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly has had stints in the NFL before. He was very known for spread offense. We're going to be very up tempo. We're going to run as many plays as possible. I don't think that's the same Chip Kelly we're going to see this year. His last year was spent with Ohio State, helping them win a championship. And it did seem like he kind of learned from his mistakes in the NFL. He's definitely slowed down the offense a lot more, even especially compared to like college standards. And the personnel groupings he was running at Ohio State were pretty consistent with what we see in NFL. So I don't think we'll see a lot of surprises. I think we'll see an NFL style offense with heavy 11 personnel and then 12 personnel about 20% of the time. And the only significant change that would be to this Raiders team, which really leaned on that 12 personnel and having both Bowers and Mayer. I think it's more just an excuse to have Bowers on every play, but it might
I
take
don't mind that.
yeah, it might just take the extra tight end, so we might see a little less work for Michael Mayer.
So that's our personnel. Yeah, let's go ahead and move to the target shares. It's Brock Bowers and then a few wide receivers. And I guess you could have just kind of made the pie chart that way. Brock Bowers and everybody else.
Yeah, and that's an crazy target share for a rookie tight end. 26%. That's like Jamar Chase target share, just for example. So he is the clear number 1 option, even though he's the tight end, and he is going to be on display this year. Also, I think he has significant upside, where I'm very excited with Brock Bowers' role because he didn't even catch a lot of touchdowns. Like, none of his touchdowns came within the red zone. So he had 5 touchdowns. None of them were in the red zone. In the red zone, he had 13 targets and 0 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Were they all just big plays then?
Yeah, there were plays that were about 30 yards out, and then he'd stiff arm a defender and front it in. And so I think when you're getting the tight end 1 from last year with an even bigger upside, we were seeing a few years ago where Kelsey was going in the 1st round, and now we're kind of getting a discount with Bowers because he still has to level up to be that Kelsey level, but I think he can do it, and you're getting him in the mid-2nd round now.
Yeah, I think he can do it too. I've been taking in best ball a lot of Genty and Bowers, both of them in my best ball leagues. They fall right in a place in the draft where I don't have a lot of confidence in some of the other players, and I think that these two are going to have their hands all over the ball on this team.
It's also going to be fun if you take Bowers to just not worry about your tight end position. You just put him in,
That's
and he's going to deliver.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I took one other tight end just for the bye week and way late. How do you feel about Jacoby Myers?
I think Jacoby Myers is undervalued. He is sitting in this like wide receiver 40 group where it's like, all right, half of you I feel like are almost guaranteed to excel, and then half of you, I don't know what you're doing here. But Jacoby Myers got it done with bad quarterback play last year, and now he is a consistent, accurate thrower. I think he is guaranteed to at least be a consistent option. And I feel pretty safe, especially if I'm getting him as like my wide receiver 3 on my team.
Yeah, this is a fun team. All right, over under 6.5.
I'll lean the over, but I'm thinking 7. This team has so many holes outside of the offense. They have done a lot of work to be competitive and exciting, but I don't think they're going to win any more than 7. I am going to give them 7 just because they're kind of fun.
Yeah, I'll give them 7 too. I might give them 8. It'd be fun to see all of them make it, but I don't think we do. I don't know that the Chiefs win this division again. I can't bet against Andy Reid twice, though, so I'm probably going the same finish as last year with the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders. But I really like the Chargers.
I'm saying this is when it catches up to them, and I'm going to go Chargers, Chiefs 3rd, and then the Raiders.
All right. Well, that'll shake things up and make things not okay in Kansas City.
Yeah. So for all the Kansas City fans that hate me and think I am not a proponent of Mahomes or Reid, I still think they'll find ways to get it done. I mean, they'll make it to the playoffs, and who knows then? Then they always have their magic.
They do.
But feel free to leave a comment and kind of tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah. Tell us why we're wrong on certain players or certain teams and what you think we should have broken down differently. Hit the subscribe button while you're at it and leaving that comment as well. And if we have any ladies out there looking for fantasy football leagues, then come on over to Fangirl Football and sign up for a fantasy league today. That's it for the AFC West. If you missed it, we have done the AFC South, the AFC North, and the AFC East. So we're done with the AFC. Now we're going to have to go over to the NFC and start breaking those down. But if you missed one of the other ones, check those out as well.